the Chicago Bears finally solved one of the biggest problems that has haunted this franchise for what feels like forever. We're not talking about head coach drama, although that's certainly been an issue. This isn't about the quarterback. Carousel that spun way too many times in Chicago. And nope, it's not about the offensive coordinator position either. All of those are worthy conversations, sure. But today we're zooming in on something even more foundational. The offensive line, that's right. The big boys up front. The unit that for decades now has either been flat out bad or just not good enough. Year after year, it's been the same story. Poor pass protection, inconsistent run blocking, constant injuries, a revolving door of players and coaches trying to fix the trenches, only to fall short time and time again. But could 2025 finally be the year we look at this Bears offensive line and say, yeah, they got it right? Pro Football Focus seems to think so. In fact, PFF just ranked the Bears offensive line as the 4th best in the entire league going into this upcoming season. 4th, as in top 5. Now, let's slow down a bit. I'm not completely sold on that ranking just yet, but I will say this. For the first time in a long time, there are legit reasons to believe this group could finally be turning a corner. When you look at the financial investment, the talent upgrades, and the coaching changes made this offseason, there's a very different energy around this offensive line. Let's rewind for a second and look at where this line has been the last few years. Since the start of the Ryan Poles era, the Bears have consistently been among the worst in the NFL in sacks allowed. In 2022, they gave up 58 sacks. In 2023, it dropped slightly to 50. But then, in 2024, it ballooned all the way back up to 68. That's a brutal number. And yeah, some of that falls on the quarterbacks. Justin Fields and Caleb Williams both have a tendency to hold the ball longer than most QBs. That's part of the story, but it's not the whole story. And here's where it gets a little confusing, even contradictory. PFF's own metrics rated the Bears 8th in pass blocking last season and 15th in run blocking. Now, I don't know what tape they were watching, but that feels way off. If you watch this team week in and week out, it was pretty clear. The run blocking was actually more consistent than the pass protection. DeAndre Swift, for instance, left a lot of yards on the field by not hitting the hole properly. Meanwhile, in pass pro, there were way too many plays where defenders were in the backfield almost instantly. So when PFF ranks the Bears as a top 10 pass blocking unit, yeah, that raises eyebrows. Especially when you're also telling me this same line gave up the most sacks in the entire league. That's a massive contradiction. I get that some of these grades are based on advanced metrics and film analysis, and there's a level of subjectivity in evaluating offensive line play, but come on. How can a unit that allowed 68 sacks be anywhere near the top 10? Let's break down the individual performances from last year to really paint the picture. Larry Barham, for example, might have had one of the worst seasons we've seen from a rotational offensive lineman in recent memory. He allowed 7 sacks on less than 250 pass blocking snaps. That's borderline catastrophic. It's the kind of performance that shouldn't even earn you a roster spot, let alone regular playing time. Yet somehow, PFF gave him a pass block grade in the 50s, which again doesn't match the eye test. That's a guy who should have been graded in the 20s, maybe 30s at best. Matt Pryor also gave up 7 sacks, but he at least played significantly more snaps, so the ratio isn't quite as bad. Darnell Wright gave up 6, although a good chunk of those came early in the season. To his credit, Wright really turned it on in the second half and looked like a totally different player by the end of the year. Braxton Jones missed some time with injury, but still allowed 5 sacks. Tevin Jenkins, despite his talent, missed a lot of time again and allowed 4. Coleman Shelton gave up 3 over more than 700 pass blocking snaps, which is respectable. But overall, this line as a unit gave up 68 sacks. 17 of those were directly attributed to Caleb Williams, according to PFF's data. Now, I'll say this. 17 sacks on the quarterback is way too high. That's not acceptable either. But even if you subtract those, you're still left with 51 sacks given up by the offensive line. That would still rank dead last in the NFL. So again, how can this be the 8th best pass blocking group? The math and the tape just don't add up. But here's the twist. The Bears clearly agreed that this line wasn't good enough, and they put their money where their mouth is this offseason. Massive upgrades across the board. It's no coincidence that these changes came after Ben Johnson joined the staff. You can bet Ben walked into the building, sat down with Ryan Poles and said, this group up front isn't going to cut it. And Poles responded by opening up the checkbook. Let's start with the most significant upgrade, Joe Thuney. This guy is not just a good guard, he's an elite offensive lineman. Since entering the league, Thuney has been one of the most durable, consistent, and dominant pass blockers of football. He gave up 9 sacks in his first 2 seasons in New England. Since then, from 2018 to now, he's allowed just 7 sacks total across nearly 5,000 pass block snaps. Let that sink in. Larry Bohm gave up 7 in 1 partial season. Thuney's given up that many over 8 seasons. That's an anchor. That's a leader. That's exactly what this line has been missing. And it's not just the on-field production. Thuney brings championship pedigree. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champ. He's blocked for Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, arguably the 2 greatest quarterbacks of this century, and done it at a high level. He knows what it takes to win. He knows how to lead, and his presence alone is going to elevate whoever lines up next to him, whether that's the left tackle or the center. Speaking of center, how about Drew Dalman? Finally, the Bears have a legitimate NFL center. No more patchwork solutions, no more stopgaps like Lucas Patrick or Coleman Shelton. Dalman is a real answer at one of the most underrated positions on the field. They paid him $14 million a year, the highest contract for any center on the open market. And for good reason. He's a top 10 guy, easily. Some have him as high as top 5. But even if you put him at 9th or 10th, it's still a massive upgrade from what the Bears have trotted out there over the last decade. Dalman's athleticism jumps off the screen. He thrives in the outside zone run game, in toss plays, pulling to the edge, all the stuff that fits perfectly with what Ben Johnson wants to do. And as a pass blocker, he took a big step forward last year. But maybe more importantly, he brings intelligence and leadership to the line of scrimmage. One of the biggest challenges for Caleb Williams last season was being asked to set protections and read complex NFL defenses coming out of an air raid system. That's not fair to any rookie. Quarterback. With Dalman in the middle, Caleb doesn't have to carry that load alone. Dalman will handle the calls, identify blitzes, and keep this unit organized. That's huge. Now let's talk about the other big interior addition, Jonah Jackson. His 2024 season was, well, a mess. Let's just call it what it was. But there's context to it. He injured his shoulder in training camp, tried to play through it, re-injured it, landed on IR, came back, got benched after trying to play center, a position he wasn't comfortable with, then returned to guard in week 18 and dominated. And just when he started to get back on track, he tore his meniscus in the playoffs. So yeah, it was a disaster. But when healthy, Jackson has shown he can be a very solid guard in this league. Not a star, but a clear upgrade over the rotation of Nate Davis and Matt Pryor from last year. If he gives you even average starter level play, that's a win. And remember, Ben Johnson knows Jackson well. He coached him in Detroit and vouched for him hard this offseason. So when your offensive coordinator pounds the table for a guy and you pay him legit starter money, that tells me there's confidence that he's going to bounce back. Now, with the interior fortified, the question shifts to the tackle spots, especially left tackle. Is Braxton Jones going to hold that job, or will rookie Isaiah Trapilo make a push? Trapilo, who the Bears drafted this year, profiles as a technician with good feet and strong fundamentals and above average pass protection. He's not a mauler in the run game, but he fits Ben Johnson's philosophy perfectly. Remember, Johnson was asked at OTAs what the number one job of a tackle is, and he didn't hesitate. Pass protection, he said. You got to be able to block their best pass rusher one-on-one. Trapilo might not have the ceiling of a Pro Bowl left tackle, but if he can be a steady, reliable pass blocker from day one, that's huge. And if you pair him with Joe Thuney on that left side, that's a duo that could be special. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Chicago may be buzzing for all the wrong reasons this week as whispers intensify around Halas Hall. The departure of guard Nate Davis from the Chicago Bears has now been confirmed, but the ripples it's sending through the league hint at something Much bigger brewing behind the scenes. Davis, who joined the Bears with high expectations after a solid stint in Tennessee, never quite found his rhythm in Chicago. Though flashes of his powerful play showed up occasionally, injuries and inconsistency plagued his time in the Windy City. Still, the confirmation of his exit raises eyebrows, not for what it says about Davis, but for what it may suggest about the direction the Bears are heading. Sources close to the team suggest this move may only be the first domino to fall. While nothing is official, there's speculation that the Bears front office under GM Ryan Poles could be positioning for a more aggressive rebuild, or perhaps clearing the path for major incoming talent. Could a trade be looming? Are the Bears freeing cap space for a big-name signing? Those are the questions being quietly asked around the league. Adding fuel to the fire are recent reports that the Bears have been unusually active in internal meetings, reassessing key positions on the offensive line. Davis's departure, while not entirely unexpected, comes at a curious moment during off-season preparations. Some insiders believe this may signal a shift in how the Bears want to protect new quarterback Caleb Williams, potentially favoring younger, more mobile linemen. Wow. Fans are left wondering who might fill the void left by Davis. The move has set off a wave of speculation across NFL circles. Will this be a one-off adjustment or the start of a deeper transformation within the team's structure? One thing's for sure, the noise coming out of Chicago isn't just wind. Something is stirring at Soldier Field, and Nate Davis's exit might just be the first hint of a much larger story yet to unfold. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.